Hey, what's going on, guys? So, if you're familiar with Henry Ford, he invented the Model T, which is considered to be the first affordable car in the entire world. And how he did that was he developed a system and methodology called the assembly line. And in the assembly line, why it was so genius was because everybody who worked on building this car knew exactly what they were building and what they were doing. And if there were any kind of mistakes or if there were any bottlenecks in their system, you could easily figure out where that bottleneck was and make a change right away. Because there was a system that was very efficient and it was really easy to make improvements upon the system, the entire world took inspiration from that motto and it completely changed the way companies do business today. And similar to how Henry Ford was so successful with the Model T by developing a system, for the lead generation machine, hence the word machine, we are also going to build a system. And the reason why a lot of people fail with emails is because, they'll send an email here and there at random times whenever they want, and they can't really tell if they're sending enough emails or if they're sending the emails at the right time. And really, without a methodology to sending emails, you just don't progress and you don't get the meetings that you want to get. And so by having a system, which is what we're going to create today, you're going to be able to figure out why people are responding, why they're not, and what you can do to increase the rates of which you get meetings so you can get more sales. So there's two different types of lead generation prospecting that you can do in the lead generation machine that we're going to learn today. The first one is going to be whale hunting. And the reason why I call it whale hunting is because you're going for specific companies that you really feel like would be a great fit for your product or service. Typically, how someone would go about this is if they have a history of customers that, they already know that their product or service fits and they're finding more similar companies like that, or they really have a strong judgment on who their product is for. And so when you know exactly who your product is for, you can focus on specific companies and increase your rate of actually getting a meeting with them and eventually getting more sales. You would want to focus on only 20 companies maximum at a time if you are whale hunting. And this is because when you're writing these emails for these whales, you're writing each one specifically tailored for that individual company. So if you're going for these whales, it's a lot better if these companies are going to make larger purchases, where if you go for 20 companies and maybe only 3 or 4 of them actually buy something for you, that's going to be a win. So you don't want to go for companies that are too small in this situation where they're not going to help you hit your financial goals. You want to hit the ones that can totally blow out your numbers out the water. Back in the day at Oracle, I was selling HR software specifically for hospitals in California who had 2,000 or more employees and had an outdated HR software that was about 10 years old. So in California, there were actually more than 20 hospitals who fit this specific customer profile, and those are the people that I went after. And this is good because I knew exactly what the pains were that these hospitals had when it comes to HR software, and I knew that my software was able to solve that pain kind of like a doctor. And so when you know specifically who you're going after, it's going to make emailing a lot more easier when you are hunting for whales. So to summarize whale hunting, go for 20 at a time, hyper focus on writing tailored emails for these 20 companies, and you want to really make sure ahead of time and do the research to make sure that your product or service is a good fit for their company. And the second type of prospecting is called fishing. And the reason why I call it fishing is because you want to think of it like you're casting a net into the ocean. You have a general idea that there are fish in the water and you're kind of throwing a net in there, but you don't know exactly what's going to pop out when you pull that net out of the water. It could be salmon, it could be tuna, it could be a dolphin or some lobsters. This strategy is typically used for startups or people who are offering a new product or service and they're trying to find a market fit. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an example. So let's say you are selling a scheduling software. It helps small, medium business schedule appointments and classes. So you might think one day, my scheduling software may be really good for all of the small, medium business yoga studios in America. So you might want to start with California and send maybe like a couple hundred emails to all the yoga studios in California. You don't know if it will work or not work, but the beauty is that you're sending a high velocity, high volume of emails tailored for that specific industry. Some people may respond, some people may not respond, but depending on what you get, you're going to know if that's a good market for you. And if they're not receptive to it, you just just go to another industry. So when you're fishing, you want to think of it like you're not exactly sure who your customer should be. So that's why you're not writing extreme tailored emails for each individual company, but you're writing it for an entire industry or entire customer profile, and you're sending it to all of them, and you're seeing if it works or if it doesn't work. Depending on your results, you're going to tweak it a little bit, make it better, and send out another batch of emails. So when you're fishing, you might be sending hundreds of emails a day, depending on how fast you are. Again, it's all about high velocity and figuring out who the best fit is for your product. And this also works if your sales cycle is really quick and you can make the sale just like that. Then, if you're going for a high volume approach, then, the email quality is a little bit lower, but you hit more people, so you might be able to generate more sales. So again, the whale strategy versus the fishing strategy, they are both really good, but it really just depends on where you're at in your business. So if you know who your ideal customer is, obviously you want to go with the whale strategy, but if you're still trying to figure it out as a startup or you're just starting up your business, then the fishing strategy might be a little better. You might have to send more emails, but eventually you'll figure things out, and then you can transition into a whale strategy as you move forward. So one of the most important things about prospecting is having a consistent schedule. Now, a lot of salespeople that I talk to, when you start, you get excited and you send all these emails, and then a lot of people kind of fall off and they don't stay consistent. So the most important thing here is to have pig-headed discipline in consistently sending out these outbound emails. So if you're a salesperson or you recently started a company and you're just starting out doing outbound emails, I recommend spending all of your time prospecting. And the reason is because you want to build the top of your funnel. You want to establish business relationships with as many people as possible so that you can choose who you work with. So once you get a little bit more busy and you send your first batch of emails out and people want to do business with you, then you could figure out how to allocate time to prospecting and handling deals and doing business. So again, if you're starting out, spend all your time prospecting, build the top of your funnel. And from there, as you start to get more customers and you get more clients, then I would actually spend the first 4 hours of your day responding to emails and sending out more emails, and spend the rest of the day handling the business activities. And the reason why, again, you want to be very aggressive with the prospecting is because you want to have an abundance of people that you can work with, so you don't get stuck with bad clients, or you have more opportunities to make more money. And that's how you're really going to scale your business. Spend the first 4 hours prospecting and the rest of the day handling your business activities. I know it may seem like a lot, but trust me, when you have the option to work with anybody you want and you could choose the cream of the crop, then your business is just going to take off. So when it comes to when to send your emails, from my personal experience emailing many different type of industries, the best that works for me is sending an email in the morning. So I live in California in America, and I am in the Pacific time. I typically schedule my emails between 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And the reason is because when you're sending it that early, people in Central Time and Eastern Time are also in the morning. And so you're able to hit 3 different time zones and have them all sent out in the morning. And so you want your email to be in their inbox. And it's typically, for people who work, it's the first thing they do. They check their email to see if anything important is going on. If they see your email in the morning, they're more likely to respond compared to the middle of the day. Sending an email in the morning is going to be a lot more effective than sending it in the afternoon. But I have seen people send emails in the evening. That works too. But for me personally, I like to send it in the morning so that I can handle the responses throughout the entire day. And then when it comes to when exactly you should send your email, statistically, there's a lot of research that proves that it doesn't matter whether you send it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. A lot of people make the misconception of not wanting to send an email on Monday because they think people are bombarded with emails, or they don't want to send on Friday because that's the end of the week and people aren't interested in email. The reality is you can send it Monday through Friday and people are still likely to respond. Of course, every industry can be a little bit different, but for the most part, I would use that rule of thumb. And you could also send emails on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And I found Sunday at around 8 p.m. when people are catching up on work before they get into the office on Monday is pretty effective. But for the most part, for me, I don't like to send emails on the weekends. I stick with Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on the Pacific time. So depending on your time zone and who your ideal customer is, you want to just convert that into the proper time zone. But that's essentially my prospecting schedule that works for me. And I'm sure it will work for you as well. So the typical response rate for a well-written email is around 7 to 9%. This means that if you're sending 50 emails, you might get around 4 or 5 responses. Out of those 4 or 5, you might get between 2 or 3 meetings. So think about it like this. If you send out 50 emails, you might get around 2 to 3 meetings out there. And again, even no matter how well written these emails are, a lot of people take meetings for unknown reasons. When you email them, it might be perfect timing and they might be looking to buy. Or for other people, they may have just bought a competitor's product and they don't need anything from you. So you can't really know for sure unless you send the first email. But again, it's a numbers game, right? And no matter how good you are in copywriting and sending these emails, you have to know that not everyone's going to take a meeting with you. So that's why you have to stay consistent and constantly stay on top of your prospecting so that you have a pool of people to work with. So that's everything that we're going to cover for when to send your emails and what time to send them and what day to send them. And the main important thing is to stay consistent with your prospecting activities, even when you start getting clients and you start getting business, because you don't want to be on a roller coaster, right? A lot of people make the mistake of doing a lot of prospecting, thinking they have a lot of customers. And then when they fulfill those jobs, they have to go back to square one and start prospecting again. And so their revenue goes up and down, up and down. So to prevent that, you want to stay consistent and constantly be prospecting so that you always have people to work with and you can be picky on who you work with so that you could work with the best possible clients. Hey, what's up guys? So in this section, we're going to show you how you're going to build your hit list. And essentially, it's just going to be a really simple way for you to keep track of all the people that you have been contacting. Now, you could either do this in a Google Sheet or Excel sheet, or if you have sales automation tools, you could go ahead and use that as well. But for the sake of this course, I'm going to show you how to do it in a really simple way, purely using Google Sheets or Excel. So the thing you want to think about when you're starting out with your hit list is you want to work in batches. So the problem that most salespeople have is they find someone they want to email and then they send them an email and then they find another guy, they send them an email. And this is a really tedious process and it takes a lot of time because you're constantly switching tasks. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a system where you're going to find information in batches and you take it one step at a time. And so it's going to save you a lot of time. So the first step you want to do is you want to start with the basic company information, meaning you want to build a big list of all the companies you want to reach out to. Once that batch is done, the next step you're going to take is finding stakeholders or decision makers at those companies and finding them all at once. So this means if you start off with 100 different companies that you want to reach out to, that's one batch. Then the next batch is finding all the stakeholders at these 100 companies, put them into your Excel sheet. That's the next batch. And finally, you want to find the stakeholders' email address so that you can finally email them. And I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to do every step of this in this entire course. But for now, let's go ahead and go into Excel or Google Sheets and show you exactly how this looks like. All right, guys. So as you can see, I'm in Google Sheets right now. The first column you want to have is the company. So here you want to just batch up all the companies that you are targeting on this list. The next step is to find the stakeholders, which is their first name and last name, and then you would just put them on this list as well. Also put in the position so you know exactly who you're talking to. Next is going to be the email. Find this person's email, put it on the list, phone number if it's available. This outreach section is where you're going to put how many times you reached out to a person. The reason why you want to do this is because you want to keep tabs on, how often you're following up on your prospects. So this last contacted part is where you're just going to put when's the last time you actually talked to them, and you want to just keep tabs of this to know how often you're reaching out and when you're reaching out. In this tab, I put the deal size because you want to know how big is this deal, so you know how to prioritize your time.
I put a little notes section over here so you can put whatever you want about the company or the person. Finally, I put the website of the company in the last section just in case I need to reference it. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this Excel sheet onto this course, and you'll go ahead and just find it. Feel free to just use it and plug and play and just use it how you see fit. And don't be afraid to change up the different variables and columns depending on what your business is or what product or service you are selling. So that's everything on building your hit list, and let's go ahead and move on.